Hello, I'm Caroline Walker, and I'm speaking today about operational analytics and the Forecourt. Little bit of background information about me before we jump in. I'm with the company Warren Rogers. We provide compliance monitoring and also fuel systems diagnostics to retail petroleum operators, including several Sigma members. And one of the things I really find most exciting about my job is what I get to talk about today. And that is creating and mining these very rich data sets of information harvested from the forecourt. So let's jump in. Little overview of where we're headed in this talk. Any data analytics endeavor is only going to be as good as the quality of the data collection and data curation effort that underlies it. So we'll spend some time looking at important things you want to take into consideration as you lay the framework for everything that will rest on it. But I'm actually going to come back to that at the end of the talk because I want to jump in by addressing the big question, why? Why collect this data in the first place? What can we do with it? And when we think about what can be done with this rich data stream coming off the forecourt, there's so many things. I could easily fill a 5-hour talk, but probably nobody wants to hear me talk for 5 hours. So we're going to focus in on one area of application, and that is how this data can be used to help you optimize your field maintenance activities. So specifically, we're going to look at how this data can be used to reduce service costs, enhance your customer's experience, maximize fuel sales, and minimize loss. And a theme that we'll see throughout as we look at examples of all those things is how data like this can be used to move what might be a more traditional maintenance program to a program that incorporates more predictive and directed maintenance. So let's begin and frame our conversation by picturing in our mind what a maintenance program might look like in the absence of forecourt data. There's probably a lot of activities that fall into this category here of routine maintenance, or we can also think of that as calendar-based maintenance. Things you're doing on a schedule because the calendar tells you to. It's September and we do this every 12 months. Things that fall into this category would be meter calibrations, often filter changes, things like that. And then we've got another category of items. These we can think of as targeted items. And these are things that are brought to your attention because someone identified a problem that they want to have looked into. So it could be coming from your store general manager, something they noticed on a walkthrough, or something a customer complained about. Could be items identified by regulators, your environmental group, loss control, or logistics providers. And the question I want to ask here is there room for improvement in this process? What if you could know about some of these issues as they are developing? Not wait for them to become full-blown problems that you're then relying on someone else to report to you. And goodness knows, I don't think any of us want to be relying on our customers to tell us we're having a maintenance issue, right? First of all, that's not efficient maintenance. And second, that's just not a good use of our customers, right? What else? What if you could have more complete information about these issues before you dispatch? What if there are diagnostics you could run that could rule out many of the things a technician might be inclined to investigate when they go to the site and point them right at the specific thing that needs attention? And how about those intermittent issues? How many times has it happened where you've sent a technician to a site to investigate something and they go out and they check it out and they come back and the report is there was no problem, everything was working fine? Well, those were not maintenance dollars well spent, right? You're almost certainly guaranteed in that situation to be sending another technician out on another day to investigate again when that issue pops up. So what if we could put more information in the technician's hands before we go so they could understand what's triggering that intermittent issue and find it the first time they go? Finally, What if you had tools to help you assess the potential impact of various competing issues? Because none of us have unlimited maintenance dollars to spend. None of us want to be spending unlimited maintenance dollars, right? So, how about some tools to help us understand the return on an investment we're getting for the maintenance decisions we make? So, we'll look at examples of that too. To begin with, we're going to jump into that first bullet point there and know about issues as they are developing. Here's an example of a diagnostic you can develop to do just that. So what we're looking at right now is a dashboard that will tell the flow rates of all dispensers. Here we're looking at unlead dispensers in a population at a point in time. But I want to be very clear here when I talk about flow rate, because we're not just showing the flow rate of the most recent transaction on that dispenser. It is never a good idea to base maintenance action off a single data point. So there's definitely some analytical work that will go into thinking about how do you want to best evaluate and summarize the flow capability of a dispenser. But once you've done that work, you have the ability to put it at your maintenance department's fingertips, at your own fingertips, right? And you can look at a dashboard like this and see all those green bars and know very quickly all those dispensers are dispensers where the flow rate is frustrating no one. Now that's very different than a situation where you have to assume all those dispensers are frustrating no one because no one's complained, right? Now you know. And then, unfortunately, you've got some small red bars over there showing you places where the dispensers probably are frustrating someone. The flow rates have gotten low. So you want to be able to drill down into that data, pull up information on exactly which dispensers are having the issue so you can address them. But what would be better than knowing about this issue in real time as it happens? What if you could have known this issue was coming and taken steps weeks ago to prevent it from reaching this point where it now may be frustrating a customer, resulting in lost fuel sales or lost store sales? Well, here's an example of exactly that. If you take a step back and think about this data that you're collecting, and you're collecting it in real time, but you're also saving off historical artifacts, that's going to give you the ability to do these powerful time trend analysis to detect patterns like what we're looking at here. So here we've plotted the flow rate over the past 10 weeks for a dispenser. And we can see for the past 5 weeks, the first 5 weeks in this plot, this dispenser was doing great. Couldn't ask for better, right? It's an auto dispenser. The flow rate is 9.8, 9.7, fantastic. And then in early September, that flow rate starts to fall, and it keeps falling week after week. And now it's at 7 gallons per minute, which isn't ideal, but probably not frustrating your customers. If you have this information in hand, you have the ability to schedule maintenance work here before this dispenser hits the point where it's already frustrating a customer, where it became a full-blown issue. Meter calibrations. Here's another example where remote diagnostics will enable you to know, without having to go to the site and run a test, how much drift has accumulated on every meter in your population. And when you think about the advantages of knowing that and basing calibration actions off of that, let's think for a minute, for example, about an auto dispenser that has reached 5 cubic inches of drift. That's the equivalent of 43.3 basis points off every gallon of fuel sold. So once you know this, you have the power to decide, I think it would be cost effective to calibrate that dispenser now, rather than waiting for the calendar to tell you it's time to stop losing fuel on every sale. Dispensers down. All right, you don't need me to tell you why having a dispenser down is a problem, right? But what I do want to talk about is how very exciting the data around dispensers and dispensers down can be when you've got this real-time data stream coming in and you're mining it. Because now you have the ability to get to know your dispensers very, very well. For each dispensing position and each fuel sold, you have the ability to know how much that position typically sells in a day, how long it typically goes between sales, and how long it's currently been since its last sale. So you can develop alerts and dashboards like this where you can query how many dispensers selling this product haven't had a sale in 24 hours. And that's what we're looking at here. And we see a number in this example dashboard, right? We've got 5 of them. What's really interesting here is also to pull in not just who's down, who hasn't had a sale, but we've got this other column showing us typical daily sales. And you can see there the dispenser at site C typically sells 300 gallons a day about, while the dispenser at site D typically sells almost 6,000 gallons a day. So even though these dispensers are both down, they're certainly not equal dispensers, perhaps, in terms of business value. So when you've got all that information collected in one place, you can really make better decisions.